Well, I want to thank Lucas, Dorothy, and Laura for working hard to put this report together. We're following the precedent that Michelle set last year. And so they had a short time frame, and I think have done a great job. But I just want to say a few words. You know, I've been president for a year. It's been very eventful, particularly with Michelle resigning and recommending a full-time person. And during the interim, before we hired Jason, I want to thank the board and also the staff.
You mean Lucas?
But Lucas came on. I'm saying before we got Lucas, then we had an interim time.
But you said Jason. Okay, I thought you said Jason.
No, well, it's possible. That's possible, but I'm getting old too, right? But during that interim time, I think it was very important that board members, the program committee, and the staff stepped up and helped keep the village functioning, even while we didn't have an executive director. And of course, with the search committee, and I want to thank Barbara and Joanne, we had maybe like 15 applicants. We narrowed it down, and Lucas was our first choice. And I'm hoping that everybody will attend the fundraiser on April 24th and the first drop-in person on the 27th, so everyone can get to know Lucas in real life. I think we're excited to have Lucas on board, with having Dorothy and Laura, and of course, and our intern, Sam McCarthy, also did a great job of helping with data and getting us on board. So I think we have a very exciting future ahead of us. It takes all of us to make it happen. And so with that, I'm going to turn the program over to Lucas, who will take us through the various slides.
Okay. Oh, thanks so much, Aina Grace. Yeah, I mean, we begin with a couple letters, but we're not going to just read all that to you. Aina Grace very deftly paraphrased what she wrote in the letter. The one thing as a former museum educator I never do is read when I'm at the podium. So I'll do my diligence to paraphrase as well. But definitely, I mean, first, this is myself having so little history with the organization. I took the easy way out, and I'm just thanking everyone in my letter. But absolutely very grateful to the entire community of the Hyde Park Village for welcoming me on board. I've just been struck by so much kindness and generosity from everybody. This has been such a whirlwind for me these past few months, and I'm making a lot of friends along the way, and that's great. Definitely grateful to our executive committee, Aina Grace, Rita, Barbara, and Joanne, for their incredible leadership during my onboarding and for the long period of time prior to my arrival here, and all the other members of the board of directors, and so many hours that everyone has spent with me individually to help bring me on board. So very thankful for that, and thanks for the search committee, definitely for recommending me and seeing me as the best choice for Hyde Park Village, this next chapter that we're all in together. So, and you know, something I always am so overwhelmed by and as also enthusiastic for is just the passion and the spirit and the dedication of the volunteers who serve in so many capacities. And in this presentation over the next hour, we're going to highlight just a handful of the wonderful ways that the volunteers serve. And, you know, when I speak of volunteers, I'm speaking of so many of us, almost everyone here who is not only a member of the organization, but also serves in some capacity, giving their time, passion, dedication, energy, expertise to the organization, helping us orchestrate all these different moving parts. So it's just really incredible. I'm very grateful for that. And it's such a pleasure to work with you all. And certainly one great way that we all hear support is through additionally our financial support as members of the organization. You know, we couldn't be here, wouldn't be here without you, and the donors and our partners as well, our supporting and sustaining partners, University of Chicago's Share Network and the Community Programs Accelerator. And then lastly, and not leastly, I'm really grateful to our staff. I'm so glad that you're here joining us today, who will also be taking part of the reins of presenting some of the great content we've got prepared for you, our year in review and a look ahead. So really thankful to the staff. And there's been such developments in our staff over the last year or since the last annual report. I mean, certainly not just with my own arrival, but certainly Dorothy Patel, the great Dorothy here, is no stranger to any of us, has been with the organization for a number of years, and she's helped see the organization through so much in that time, as well as being a wonderful shepherd in my onboarding. Laura, who was Laura Voss Allen, who was hired just some number of weeks prior to my arrival. But in that short time, Laura's made such a substantial impact into the streamlining and efficiencies of our operations, and is such a light in the organization, welcoming all individuals. And last and not least is our wonderful intern, Sam McCarthy, through the University of Chicago's Crown Family School of Social Work, Policy, and Practice. And Sam brings great perspectives and energy to the team. She has been pivotal in helping us with our Dementia Friendly initiative, and we'll highlight that later on in our presentation, along with many other wonderful things that Sam does with us behind the scenes. So I just want to recognize these people out in front, since this is a great opportunity for us to meet them somewhat face to face. Do that. And you know, last real quick, I definitely want to thank Dorothy, Laura, Sam, for the joy you bring to the workplace, and also the patience that you've had with me over the past few months as I've been learning. So thank you so much. So with that, we're gonna keep moving. That went backwards. Let's go forward.
Lucas?
Yes, please.
Lucas?
Absolutely.
There was one more thing I wanted to say.
Yeah.
We're going to continue working with the Share Network, even as they search for a new, I'm not sure what Jason's title was, but he was our key person. And we're also, even though we're going to be ending our formal relationship at the end of the spring with the accelerator, we're still working with them on strategic planning. And also very important, we've got to update our bylaws. Our bylaws don't take an executive director and staff into consideration. So those are two elements that the board will be working on in the very near future.
Yeah, thanks, Aina Grace. Absolutely. Yeah, great. Very great points. Yeah, and with the Community Programs Accelerator, even though our core partnership relationship will come to a close, when is that, in May, June? I don't know.
End of the school year, I think.
Yeah, and but they do have like a alumni network that we'll be able to participate in. So we're still waiting to hear what those details are, but but that's exciting. Great. So much has happened. This blows my mind. You know, I used to think I did a lot at the Art Institute of Chicago. Oh my gosh, look at this. In 2021, I'm not going to read all of this to you, but we'll provide a PDF on our website for you to download, much as we already have prior years of annual reports for people to download. But just to go through some of this, over 500 events that you all engaged in during 2021 calendar year, focusing on these vital, critical aspects of well being, learning, socialization, health and well-being, and social support. This incredible roster of all the drop-in topics. Extraordinarily special thanks to the program committee, very incredibly stewarded by Barbara Norish as the program committee chair. And then at Wright, we have all of these ongoing programs that have happened throughout the year. And, one thing I really remarked when I came on board is just how incredibly deftly the organization pivoted to Zoom when there are so many organizations, these other even juggernauts out there. I'm not going to name names, but one appears on my resume, but that had such a challenge making that pivot, but that just shows just the incredible thing of Hyde Park Village. Everybody pulling themselves up by the bootstraps and making it happen. And so, and congratulations to everybody on that. That's a real amazing legacy. Exercise, a number of things by the numbers here. You have exercised a combined total of 3,424 hours in 2021. Don't you feel fit?
Yeah.
So if you really want to know how I come to that number, you can ask me afterwards. I'll show you the math. But I think this just shows that our members recognize this increasing value of physical fitness in our journey towards maintaining healthy lifestyle as we all age. And so thanks very much to that. Also, a big thanks to our members who support and sustain these programs through donations to private donation, individual donations to the organization. One very substantial anonymous gift that supports half of this, but then many individual gifts that are provided throughout the year to specifically earmarked for supporting our exercise programs. So it's just that's really wonderful. Thank you so very much. And a real core service that we provide to our members. We're going to touch on a couple of core services, and our rideshare service or transportation service is definitely one of the cornerstones of our services for members. And I see this is ensuring that those members who don't have the means of independent transportation can remain vitally engaged in the community, and most especially accessing the medical services that we need. So, but I always say it's not like Uber or Lyft or taxi. You could do those, but this is so much more than just transportation, right? Because the drivers are Hyde Park Village members and volunteers, so they're not strangers. These are our neighbors, these are our friends, and so thus the ride is so much more valuable as a social experience in and of itself. And so in that sense, while it's a service, it's also a program in a sort. But just looking at here, 169 rides in 2021, about half of which were for medical appointments and a quarter for vaccination. That's fantastic. It's in the grip of this pandemic, these critical care that the ride service offered. And then, of course, bringing us to events and other activities. So a great quote here, which I confess we cheated a little. This is a 2022 quote, but it applies just as well. I can't tell you how much it meant to me, referring to, this is from a member who received the ride in regards to the driver. I can't tell you how much it meant to me. She even found a quicker way into the building. It was so helpful. Thank you for arranging this. It meant a lot to me. So, and it means a lot to us. The Village Visitor Program. This is where I think our plan was, Dorothy. Am I handing it over to you now to share
the
next few slides?
Yeah. We tried to be creative in how we represented the data, so it would be a little different. So anyway, each one of these little people represents 10 visits within our Village Visitor Program. So in total, 282 visits last year. As you can tell, 25%, the darker ones, represent visits to people whose families are impacted by dementia. So that's pretty amazing, because we started this program prior to really being a part of this Dementia Friendly Hyde Park initiative, but it turned out that a lot of the people we were starting to serve really fit this demographic. And so it's really a program where we train volunteers who then go and visit a family, and then they go for an hour a week usually. And the visits can entail a walk. They can entail something as simple as just if someone's in end stage dementia, for instance. We had one person where she just painted the nails of the person, and she was very happy, and the family members felt a bit relieved. So that's the kind of variety we can get. In some cases, we have people who are blind, and so the volunteers do very practical things like look through their mail and just help them figure out which bills need to be paid, write the checks for them, and throw them in the mailbox for them. So it really ranges on sort of what the needs are. Can you go on to the next slide? So I thought this picture here and the story of Annette and Paige might help you sort of see a little bit more directly the impact. So we'll take the next page, the next slide, please. So this family, Annette is in her early 70s, and she, it's really officially late onset dementia, but she's just in her early 70s. And so Paige, her daughter, decided to move in with her mom and become her caregiver. And these quotes, I think, just really give you a little bit of, like I said, a window. So Gwen, who is a volunteer with us and is actually also a social worker by training, visits them once a week. Annette and Paige's siblings are such stellar examples of how some families become even more resilient when dealing with life-changing events. So glad the village is there to lend a bit of support. And then from Paige's perspective, Gwen is fantastic. She exudes a warm, calming energy that helps put my mother at ease and keeps her engaged. I am grateful for the time we've spent with Gwen and look forward to our future visits. So again, a thank you to the village for for providing this service. So it just really shows from one family's perspective what this village visitor program really means. And the keeping the family member engaged, I think, is really a theme that comes up over and over again in these visits when they do impact a family with dementia. Next slide, please. So here's a little bit of a sampling of other services that we provided last year. So the biggest one, as you can see, is Thanksgiving meals. So Thanksgiving is a big event at the Chicago Hyde Park Village, and this year we were able to, or in 2021, we were finally able to do it in person again. But we also delivered a number of meals to people's homes. So you can imagine, to organize all of that and to arrange the logistics so the meals show up timely and warm is a major endeavor. So thank you to all the wonderful volunteers that were involved in that. But we did a number of other things. For instance, we helped connect 5 members to an oral history project that was done in commemoration of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday in 2021. We facilitate some gifts that community members would like to get to older adults. We did some medical advocacy, tech support. In fact, I see Marsha Cozy, who's on this Zoom. She's one of the wonderful people who benefited from a referral to a program at Rush, and she's now able to Zoom in and view. So very nice to see you, Marsha, because I know you always were calling in, but now you can actually be there. So if you can wave at everybody, perhaps they can, or you're shaking your head. Yeah, there's Marsha. So that's the example of the tech support. But we also, and this picture I think really exemplifies it, have been giving out some companion pets and sensory mats. So this is the late Della Starr, who passed away in December. She was a part of our village visitor program, but we introduced her to a companion pet, and she lovingly named him Red. It was so sweet. Her daughter, who was her caregiver, really just loved that name. And the pets are just real simple. They have a battery function, so you can turn them on and they move a little bit and they simulate the activity of a pet. So there's cat versions and dog versions, one of each, and it's just lovely to see because as you can tell in this photo, you can tell she's really interacting with this dog, which is lovely. So that's again an example of some of the other services that we provided. Next slide, please. So another thing that we do quite a lot of is we get phone calls with people who sort of have a certain issue and they're not quite sure what to do or how to get some information. So we then have sort of a number of resources that we refer them to. So for instance, as you can see, home health is a big, was really is regularly requested a lot. So we just give some referrals of some agencies that do home health. Information, the medical one here is so high because 2021, of course, was right when we started getting COVID vaccinations. And at the beginning, people didn't really know where to go. And so we were collecting information where people could go and get a vaccination. So that's why that's so high. But then we got people who request home repair information, legal, think about like a will, someone would like to find somebody who would help them, or a house cleaning or other type of tech support. So in total, we did 80 of these referrals last year. And if you can show the next slide. So normally in the past, you had to go through our office to get to that. And Rita McCarthy has this beautiful binder that she shared with us. And we have a wonderful volunteer, Leona Perrine, who's been working probably since the pandemic start and has been inputting all that information from Rita's wonderful binder. And it is now available. You can access it yourself. So you no longer have to call our office, although you're more than welcome to if you'd like to still talk with us. But you can go. And so as you can see, it's on the member resource tab. So if you go to our website and you click on the member resource tab, at the very bottom of it, you'll see it'll say referral database. So when you click on there, it'll actually give you two options. One option is the Share Network resource guide, which is very comprehensive. So you can click on that and see all the resources, but also now you have access to this database. It's just beginning, so we'll be adding things, but there's already a good deal of information, again, from Rita's binder, but also we've been also collecting information from the Good Neighbors email list that many of you are on. So it's growing and expanding. There's actually a link on this page for you to make recommendations. So if you know of a trusted, a person that you would like us to add, please fill that out. We'll slowly be adding names. Or if you've had a bad experience with somebody on this list, let us know that as well. That's also useful information. But yeah, it's available and you can look in a lot of different categories. So here, this example shows you home maintenance type of thing, but we also have health and wellness as a category. There's a general category and there's a personal apparel that has some like shoe repair and other types of things. But the range of what's available, like language services, bookkeeping, taxes, bicycle maintenance, all types of household repairs like plumbing and whatever else, painting, whatever else you would need. So all of that is available, and you are welcome to use it. And we, if it was of interest, we could do an online meeting, just how to show people how to use this if they would like, although it's very easy to use. You just click and then you choose like it shows in this slide. Oh, the one thing I should mention is that you have to log into the website. Everyone who is a member has a login. If you don't remember your login, don't worry. It's very easy for us to reset your login. So contact any one of the staff members. We'll be happy to reset it. Or you can actually just online yourself, get your password reset. So don't hesitate. In fact, just this week, I reset the password for two people, two of our volunteers who needed that. So it's very simple. Next slide, please. So I want to now shift over a little bit into this, what is the value of volunteer time? There's actually organizations out there that put a value to it. So there's a group called Independent Sector, and I just looked it up. The most recent value for the state of Illinois is $29.35 an hour. So this is the cost, if you can imagine, of what it would take to hire somebody to do something, like if you wanted to give a ride, that's essentially what it would cost us per hour. So let's do the next slide. So using that number of $29.35, we calculated that 84 volunteers submitted 3,195 hours of volunteer time that they donated so generously to in 2021. As you can imagine, when you really do the math, it's not an insignificant amount. It's $93,773. So it's a real number that we then can use to share with our stakeholders, with our funders. So when we apply for funding, it really shows that even though we might have a small staff, we actually have a large base of volunteer support. So that's quite significant. So thank you to all who reported their volunteer hours. I will like to add, if you are a volunteer and you're doing wonderful work for us, but you're not letting us know that, it's as though it doesn't exist. So you have to let us know so we can add it to this for next year. So if you are volunteering, and it could be as simple as, you know, you keep up with a few people to make sure that they're informed about what's going on at the village. But if you do that an hour a month, you know, over a course of a year, that's 12 hours of volunteer time. So that's not insignificant, and you multiply it by everyone. So please, no service is too small to be included in this. Next slide, please. And this is the honor roll. We just wanted to lift up those that had volunteered more than 10 hours last year, and the ones that are in bold are folks that have volunteered more than 75 hours in the past year. So thank you very much. And for a few folks, as you can tell, there were practically, you know, part-time staff people, except minus the pay. So we really,
my name's Beth, and I'm a certified athletic therapist and Pilates instructor.
I'm sorry, I think there was something else that went on. Yeah, anyway, so we just really want to say thank you so much to all of our amazing volunteers. Next slide. This is, I just wanted to mention an improvement that we're working on. We have the ability to do a lot more on our website. We introduced this thing to some of our volunteers called Volunteer SelfSign Up, or VSS. What it's doing is it allows our volunteers to have access to live volunteer data. So that means when we get a request for a ride, they can go to a page on our website to see that direct information and can accept that ride themselves without the involvement of the staff. And so what it does is it streamlines the service fulfillment process. It makes it easier for both staff and volunteers. There's fewer steps. And as you can imagine, when someone sends out an email, maybe a volunteer reads it a day later, that information is no longer current. But when they use this volunteer self-sign-up part of our website, the information is always current. So there's just a lot less sort of unnecessary communication. It also means that it's a single data entry system. So when our volunteers give a ride, they can just go into the system afterwards and tell us how much time they spent. If there was some kind of issue that came up, there's a field for them to provide feedback. And so it just really simplifies the staff can go in and, you know, I'm going in there once a week and just running a report of all the comments our volunteers are making. So it's really efficient and effective system of communicating with our volunteers. We're using it right now with our village visitor program, as well as our driving pool, but we hope to expand it to use it with all of our volunteers in the coming year. And what it really does is allows us to have sort of one platform where everybody can see all of the volunteer opportunities. And so then it also allows people to see opportunities that they might not think to volunteer for, but when they see it, they see, oh, I'm available that day, I can do that. So it's just really wonderful to have this all in one convenient location. I think the next slide is dementia friendly. So I'm going to pass off the baton to Sam, our intern.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sam, for those of you who haven't met me. So one project that I have been working on, which is really exciting, is this dementia friendly Hyde Park businesses initiative. So we're actually partnering with an area agency on aging called Age Guide. They serve mainly the Chicagoland, the Collier counties, so outside of Cook. And we're working with them to develop specifically restaurant and retail trainings that will be accessible through their online platform and also accessible through our website, with online on-demand trainings that already exist in other forms. So they already have trainings for faith communities, first responders, and a couple different ones, as well as the general community. So I've been developing the restaurant and retail trainings, and we're really excited to launch this initiative coming in this summer. So very exciting stuff. I believe that is all I have to say.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, this is very exciting. And I know, yeah, Dorothy and Sam have been working hard on this for the past few weeks. And it's moving quickly, which is really, really wonderful. Age Guide's been a great partner for us, with us. And, and it's interesting, and Susan, you were also just yesterday in the meeting with the Share Network, somebody said, oh, wouldn't it be great if there were some way that businesses could, go through an accreditation of sorts to be certified dementia friendly, and not just to put a sticker in the window, but also that there's some sort of an accountable kind of knowledge that they went through a training and an ongoing assessment. And so, yeah, we're working on that. So that's a wonderful thing. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and Lucas, we should also mention this logo that you see here will start appearing in businesses once we start doing the outreach. A business has to do 50% of its frontline staff will have to have gone through this training, which includes two 15-minute modules and a pre-test and a post-test. So it's a substantial training, but it is available. It's just on demand online. So it's very convenient for businesses to use. But hopefully in the next few months, we're hoping to launch this sometime in perhaps the late summer or so. We will be, these will start springing up all over the businesses in Hyde Park.
So some fun more slides to go through here. We've got membership by the numbers. This is really exciting for me to look at here. So we have 197 members currently. Where we were at the end of last year is probably what I should have looked at, but the number was easier to bring up. So that's up 13% from the same point last year. And so we have onboarded 20 new members in 2021 or since then. So that 197 members, but that comprises 162 households, over 11 zip codes, most of which are in the Chicagoland area. And certainly the overwhelming majority are in the Hyde Park area, understandably so. And full membership is up 3% from a year ago, with nearly a quarter of our members being full members and about 76% being associates members. And these last couple bullets, I think they're really great because it shows that our members take advantage of the kind of the fluidity and just different options at different points in our life. And so one can transition from choosing to move from being an associates member to a full member, or choose to go from a full membership to an associate membership. And so having that, I think it's always important just to have options and make those options very readily accessible to all. So that's wonderful here. And what we've all been waiting for, here we are at the financials, the financial vitality of the organization. And I'm thinking at this point, Joanne, are we handing the talking stick over to you to take over here?
Well, it's kind of a good news, bad news, but a call to action for our members and maybe our community. We're in sound financial condition. We had $248,000 in the bank at the end of the year. This is largely due to the fact that for the past several years, after years of losses, we had lost in 2 years about 20,000. We started building a surplus, and part of that happened because of COVID, because we delayed filling the spot that Laura's not in. Now, another large contributor to that was that in 2020, we received a total of $57,500 from the accelerator, and 50,000 of that is funds that weren't meant to be spent right away. They're restricted for future purchases. So last year in 2020, if you look down at the bottom, our net was 76,000. And a large part of that is due to these one-time payments. In 2021, we had a net of 13,000, and that's good. That's a surplus of 14,000. That's good for a nonprofit. You know, we had something in there. Part of the reason was that we didn't fill Laura's spot until mid-year. Now, in a real positive thing is, as Lucas mentioned, we had that increase in members of 13%, and it worked out that our membership revenue was up 13% last year. The one sort of negative item last year was that our donations, general donations, were down $4,000 from the previous year. Why? I don't know. We got the annual appeal out late. We picked up some of that again when we did a mailing in 2022, but we didn't pick up all of it. So that's definitely an area that needs work. Now, if you look at our column, you'll see that's our budget for 2022. And I think many of you know that we've decided to take a big jump and hire Lucas full-time. Plus, we've got, significant increase in staff hours in the office, okay? So that's going to lead us to a fairly significant deficit in 2022. And part of that deficit, that will be covered by these funds we've accumulated from the past. The accelerator has told us that we could use some of their $50,000 to fund Lucas's position, increased staff. So that's our plan. But what I think we need to keep in mind is we've got to see that deficit keep decreasing significantly. I would like to see it gone in about 3 years. So we're going to need to really work on those individual donations. We're going to need to work on membership. So far for this year, membership revenue is down from last year, and I'm hoping that, I don't know if it's, I assume because people aren't renewing, or maybe they're sitting on their renewal and we're not getting them in. So hopefully we'll get those renewals to come in slowly. And if you people sitting out there in the audience, if you've got some friends, entice them to join the village, because we'll need increased membership. We need increased donations from the community. And then another thought with the full-time executive directors, that they would have time to get out there and find significant grants, some significant contributions. So I would say that should be the village's goal for the next 2 years, get that deficit down to zero or very close. So that's what I mean. It's a call to action in a way. We've all got to work together to increase membership, increase donations. We've got a fundraiser coming up. And I think this year we're aiming for a much lower debt on the fundraiser than we have in the past, because due to COVID, we haven't gotten things pulled together as quickly as we might have. And we were also hesitating about sort of grandiose plans with the concern they might be canceled. So, in future years, we've got to work on, getting back to a fundraiser. We've had them net well over 10,000. And, see if in the future we can get that to a net of 15,000 or 20. So we can all help with encouraging people to come to this next fundraiser, actually. So a fundraiser is something that we haven't been able to do for a couple of years. So we'll have to work on that. And everyone here, I think we've got mostly our loyal, true members. And so we should all get involved and get out there and stomp for the village. Okay, any questions?
Well, I want to take this opportunity. Some of you may not know, but Joanne and her husband are moving to Colorado. And so Joanne has resigned as our treasurer, and we are greatly going to miss her. We so appreciate all the work she has done for the village over the years. As you can see, even though she's resigned, she continues to be a resource for us. And so I want to express both my personal, but also on behalf of the entire village, our thanks to you, Joanne.
Oh, and don't forget, if you know any retired accountants out there, send them to me. Or Aina Grace.
Right. We need a treasurer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Joanne. Thanks, yeah, Aina Grace. And yeah, it's always wonderful listening to Joanne walk us through these finances, just making something that perhaps to many of us is a little opaque, but making it very, very clear. So thank you. And to build on what Aina Grace said, yes, I'm very grateful for it. I think it was 16 hours of one-to-one sessions that Joanne very generously spent with me to help bring me up to speed on all of the finances of the organization. So thank you so much for that.
Good job on the bank rec this month, Lucas.
Well, good job. Sorry, I missed that.
I said, good job on the bank reconciliation.
All right. See, it's paying off. All right. Yeah, thanks. And yes, regarding the benefit, I'm sure most of us are aware, but yeah, on April 24th is our fundraising benefit. If you haven't heard about that, or if you just want to haven't registered yet, just simply go to our homepage, chpv.org, and you'll find at the top there's a banner that'll link you to the benefit event. So check that out. So, and yeah, on the heels of our finances, we wish to express our profound thanks and gratitude to everyone, individuals and foundations who have helped support us financially tremendously just in the last year. This is incredible, and it goes on for 2 pages here. Yeah, I guess I said again, we'll be sharing this PDF. So you're very welcome to look through, and so many friends that we have on this list here of our donors, and it goes on and it goes on. So truly remarkable. It takes a village, right? And quite a number of us give to the organization in honor of individuals or in memory of individuals, and so we're very pleased to bring that all together on this slide here to thank those who have generously given in honor or in memory of the individuals seen it right here, and at left are the donors who have contributed in people's names. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, I think our timing is it could not be a little more perfect here, but we wanted to conclude with just a nice grand finale here, hearing from Susan, who's going to share with us some wonderful stories from the history of Chicago Hyde Park Village. Thanks, Susan.
Thank you, Lucas. I think what I have to say is a bit anticlimactic after everything you've heard. But Aina Grace did ask me to give a bit of the CHPV story, probably because I'm one of the more stubborn founders. And it's all began. The this year commemorates 20 years of the so-called village movement, and over 10 years of our effort to start a village in Hyde Park. Most of you are more familiar now with what we've become. So I will focus a little bit on some of the struggles that we went through in the very beginning. The village, in a way, is an outgrowth of many activities in Hyde Park, from Margaret Hike's Hyde Park Owl to Jay Mulberry's Good Neighbors to neighborhood associations, block clubs, building associations, all of which are devoted to building community. And that's what the village is about, with a special focus, of course, on the older population. The village movement, I think, actually started when Jane Brody published a New York Times article about Beacon Hill Village, and their efforts to support neighbors who wanted to remain in their own homes as they got older. People all over the country read that article and then inundated Beacon Hill with requests for advice and help, how they could do it themselves. So Beacon Hill wrote a how-to manual, sold it for a very high price, I guess to support their own village. Allison Hartman bought a copy of the manual, and we tried to gather together some neighbors to discuss the possibility. In March 2010, about 35 people gathered in my living room to discuss it, with much enthusiasm and many suggestions for what you should do. Fortunately, many others also volunteered to help make it happen, and we formed a steering committee. We began meeting every 2 to 3 weeks to report on what we had accomplished in the interim. We found and worked with a student consultant group from the Booth Graduate School of Business. We held a community luncheon for 100 in 2012. We conducted and analyzed surveys. We wrote bylaws, out of date now, but we had to start. We incorporated. We obtained our 501c3 status. We secured meeting and space at Augustina Lutheran Church for a very reasonable price. And we designed and produced a brochure. We worked with Harris public policy students as a living case study for some of their term projects. We attracted other student volunteers. Andrew Holtzman encouraged us to examine and experiment with our first drop-ins, which initially we were doing every week, and we found that was a little bit more than we could handle. But we engaged local experts to lead workshops and strategic planning sessions, and we held meetings and meetings and meetings. And we also met with the 4 other startup and wannabe villages in our area, and several of us went to the newly established National Village to Village Network meetings in St. Louis, I think Seattle, Columbus, to find out and share ideas with what other villages were doing. And we've also benefited greatly from very generous support from early donors who funded events, helped us engage part-time staff and exercise leaders. Sadly, one of our early founders, Ken Shug, passed away in 2013. Aside from his legacy of hard work, he left us a nice bequest, which, together with the sweat equity and personal donations of other founders, got us through our early years until more fortunate things began to happen in 2014 and 2015. And that brings us up to the part that I think we've already been hearing much about. The University of Chicago Office of Civic Engagement announced its Community Programs Accelerator. to help deserving community organizations. We figured it was a long shot and it was a very challenging application, but we decided to try. We didn't get the big prize, but we were selected as an associate, which at the time was probably better for us because it provided many informative workshops and more meetings, but very helpful, and hands-on help and advice from university and city experts. And then after, I think, 5 years as an associate, we got the big prize and we became a core program, and we've been working, we got money and direct help from the experts at the Community Programs Accelerator. In the fall, backing up, in the fall of 2014, we finally decided to bite the bullet and to open. And we had a big party at the YMCA down on Stony Island. Ted Fishman spoke to us. The Chicago Children's Choir sang. Mariana Crucius prepared gorgeous and very tasty refreshments, and she and her crew, Ann Audrain and many others, worked with her. And until the pandemic, we followed this with anniversary parties at the Hyde Park Bank lobby to spread the word about what is the village and what we plan to do. My favorite story, do I still have time, Aina Grace?
Yeah.
Many of you have heard this already, but I love to tell the story about our affiliation with SHARE. Back in 2015, Dr. Catherine Thompson prepared a proposal for improving healthcare for the older population in underserved Southside Chicago. She invited the fledgling CHPV to be a partner. Well, we dithered and we discussed and we debated and we talked about it. Could we do it? Would it overextend us? Would we end up neglecting our own neighbors? And it was a very difficult decision. Finally, at the very deadline, we had a midnight meeting. We called Dr. Thompson to consult, probably getting her out of bed. And at that time, Margaret Hike, who has a lifelong career as a gerontologist with much experience with government grants and funding, said, I doubt this has a snowball's chance of ever getting funded. So one member said, well, in theory, then I think we probably should support our neighbor. And everybody else went along and we all voted to, yes, we would be partners. And 4 months later, President Barack Obama announced the program that provided major funding for the SHARE network, and we were in on the ground floor. Yeah. So since then, we've been chugging along very nicely until the pandemic, and as you've heard, we, with the help of our talented and energetic board and staff, we were able to shift gears during the pandemic and keep things going. And we're fortunate today. I think we're in a very good place. But a lot of this has been thanks to the hard work of a lot of volunteers, most of whom are here on this call. So I want to again thank everybody and invite people who have ideas and suggestions and time to join us. And so thank you very much, everyone. I think we are light years ahead of where we thought we would be 10 years ago.
Thank you, Susan.
Wonderful. So, final slide. Always good to conclude with some contact information, but you all know where to reach us. But we're very pleased now, I guess, in our final 5 minutes to open it up to any questions or comments. I think, right? And thanks everyone for fabulous collaboration with this, and thank you all so very much for being here and for everything throughout the years. So, thoughts, questions, comments?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment, please. I haven't been on as a member very long, but just listening to all the work and hard work that everybody's put into this community service is just unbelievable, unbelievable. I wish there was some way we could get this type of information out that, you know, the public can really get to know the village. And I wanted to say, I was thinking about saying, you know, about Lucas in terms of being a gentle giant, coming in and doing what he's doing so quickly, getting on board. But I just can't say that about Lucas. I can say that about each and every one of you, how you worked hard throughout the years. Susan, I mean, you're just an unbelievable, unstoppable. When you want something done, you just get in there and get it done. You guys just impressed the heck out of me. And I just want to try to do as much as I can, as I'm extremely busy on other boards and things, but man, you guys enlighten me. I'm just so impressed. I think I want others to realize what the village does. If we could make an impression like this that would be more compact at the fundraiser, because there's so much being done to service people and the peoples in the community of Hyde Park. It's just a wonderful organization, and I'm just appreciative of you all doing what you're doing and making this a community to live in, and knowing that you got backup. And you know, the old saying about, you know, the need is the mother of invention. You guys realized the need and you did the invention. So let's just keep it going and thank God that we have you.
Thank you, Charles.
Charles Newsom. He's the ostensible chair of the benefit. New board
So,
member.
There's a question in the chat. There's a question in the chat.
Oh, there's huge here.
And someone has their hand up as well.
Sure. Yeah, Terry asked in the chat status of restarting the CHPV newsletter. Yeah. We've thought much about it, but need to take action on that. Yeah, and I think I'm sure we all agree that the newsletters are really critical pieces of communication to reach those of us who don't use email, right? Absolutely. Susan, looked like you wanted to say something.
So, well, I just wanted to add, though, in the absence of our newsletter, Terry has been doing a dynamite job of sending out periodic updates on what's going on and keeping us informed, not only in Hyde Park, but interesting things elsewhere in the city and country. So,
Yes.
Thank you, Terry.
Great. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Herculean effort. I say it's amazing. Yeah. The hand up on the telephone.
I think that's probably me, Gary. Yes. And I was just wondering if you have one or two initiatives or ambitions or needs that you see that seem feasible that we should be working on this year or next year. Some major need in the community that isn't being met and that fits our mission. Or at least think about it if you can't think of anything at the moment.
We're always thinking about that.
I could toss out a couple.
Right, yes. Narrowing it down, that's the trick.
And I have a quick suggestion, Susan, before you, is rides. We're giving rides, but our pool of volunteers needs to expand because people deferred a lot of appointments and now they're actually doing that. So, we find that just a few volunteers wind up doing a lot. So I'll throw that out and then I'll toss it back now.
So, yeah. And this is Barbara Norris. I'd like to mention too, that the board is just about to review our strategic plan. And I think that will be a crucial time for us to answer that question, Gary, about where do we go?
Okay.
We had just completed a strategic plan right before the shutdown happened due to COVID. And now that we're hopefully getting past that and beginning to open up again, although we never know what's going to happen with COVID, that is the next major work of the board, is to update the strategic plan. Aina Grace, I don't know if you want to say more about that.
No, but I think for us to continue doing what we're doing and also to invite new initiatives, we need to increase our membership, but also we need folks to step up into leadership. Number of the members of our board, while still working hard, have been there a while. So we need some new folks. So it takes a village.
Yeah. So
And new volunteers in general. Yeah.
Yes.
I would just like to address Gary directly. Let me contact you offline because I have something that you might be interested in working on over in the building where you live, and is maybe time to resurrect it.
Right.
This is Carolyn McSisai. I have a comment. I was surprised when you announced that there were 11 different zip codes where members were living. And the majority, of course, were Hyde Park and Kenwood. And since I no longer live in those two zip codes anymore, and what are you doing about encouraging members in the other 9 zip codes that you have a few members in? And I am always shocked when I talk about the Hyde Park Village to friends, because a lot of people out there have no idea what a virtual village is. And if there was some way that, you know, publicity wise or going into the communities that are the other zip codes, maybe encouraging membership in that way, and explaining what a virtual village is. And when I look at what the Hyde Park does versus some of the other villages in Chicago, you do so much more. And I am so happy to be, you know, an ex-Hyde Parker, but still a member of the Hyde Park Village. But I just think that the message of what a virtual village is, and specifically what the Hyde Park Village does, would really encourage more members.
Good.
Thanks, Caroline. Yeah, pounding the pavement, getting the word out, speaking at different functions and events. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it has grown so much over the years, but there's so much more potential for growth too. And yeah, and Caroline, you know, as you said, with the other non-Hyde Park zip codes, you know, we have many, right, former Hyde Park, or not many, I shouldn't say, because of what was it, 97% or so are Hyde Park zip codes, but that 3% are, you know, a handful of people who, former Hyde Parkers who continue to remain as members. I think there's even a Canadian member.
Well, I know that they're not going to be doing that much volunteering. It just, to me, right. You know, I kind of feel that the only thing between my zip code and the Hyde Park zip codes is really the Bronzeville area. And I don't know much publicity or how many members you're pulling from there, but that's a pretty big community, and I think pretty active in a lot of different ways.
Definitely. Right. And I think our relationship with the Share Network has very much helped promote the awareness of Chicago Hyde Park Village to the South Side. The S in the Share Network is for South Side. And,
you know, pulling from South Shore and, you know, Chatham and all those areas. Because I'm a South Sider from day one.
Yeah. But also through the accelerator too, back when we can start meeting in person, they have programs that are a great way of networking with other organizations in the area, like in Bronzeville.
Well, I also would encourage the Zoom, because at this point in time, I'm sort of stuck at home. I'm not driving currently. And I think Zoom has been, in the last 2 years, such a lifesaver in terms of keeping the social world active for myself, and I think for a lot of other people. So, I mean, keeping the Zoom situation is really, to me, a big advantage. And as you said, the Hyde Park Village jumped on that and did such a better job of some other organizations in getting that in place.
Well, I think as we bring this meeting to a close, we've got an awful lot to be proud of. But as our in members who are always thinking of new things and new ways to help folks and new ways to reach out, we can't rest on our laurels. So we will continue to grow and to expand. And we need all of you to contribute,
Grace.
go to the fundraiser, and also to participate in the leadership. But thank you, everybody who tuned in today. It's a beautiful day out there. So thank you all for being inside and interacting with us.